All right, we have a good idea of our posture and how we should hold the club. Now we need to talk about our ball position and how do we set up with the individual golf clubs in our bag. Some are long, some are short. So we're gonna go through that a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my golf club and actually grab a couple lineman sticks here as well. And whenever I talk about hitting the golf ball in our stance and where the ball should be placed when we take our stance, I always reference the golf ball being in our box, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and make a little box here and explain what we're looking at here. But for me, the club swinging box is going to be between my middle foot and my middle foot, and the golf ball has to be somewhere in that framework with every golf shot that I hit, okay? We're gonna start with the mid iron and just kind of talk about the basics of this. So I'm gonna move this a little bit closer, I think. So if I reference my box, okay, it's very important to understand why this is a thing here, okay? If you have anything outside of your box this way, your body has to reach or do something drastic to get to it. We can't get to it from our normal framework. If we play the ball back here anywhere, same thing. Our body's gonna wanna react and try to get behind it, and we have to do something extra to get to that golf ball. So I always reference the box as being between the middle toe and both of my feet and having the ball somewhere in the middle, okay? So, pretty standard. I like my amateurs, novices, beginning golfers to really think about every iron in your bag, I would say even 4 iron down, playing it dead center. My reasoning behind that is we really want to teach our body to mirror the golf ball so that our bigger muscles can be involved in that motion and we're not complicating something that could be a little bit easier. So I always like you to reference more of the middle of your stance. And we're going to go ahead and make a little diagram this way to kind of help you with that reference. So as you can see, that ball would be pretty much in the middle of our stance. Now my better players, you will see them, if this is neutral, you may see them play at a ball back with most irons. I'm thinking like 6 iron, 7 iron and down, okay? And that promotes hitting down and through, and something that we can talk about. Some golfers may play it a little bit forward of center, okay? But for an iron, you know, for the most part, we're playing it dead center for that novice, maybe a hair back if you're a better player and there's a reason for it, punch shot, abbreviated shot that we might be hitting with a certain club in our bag. Okay, so that's okay. What really scares me though is when I see the ball really getting behind, and one of the things that will happen with your hand position is that your hands will try to revert back and get behind the golf ball. When they do that, they're disconnected and they're not working with the rest of our body. So I really do like for you to grab a mirror. We may even do a segment where we discuss that. And you feel like your shoulders, hips, knees, feet, no part is closer to that mirror than the other. And when we have our stance, that ball is gonna feel like it's dead center, okay? So that's a good rule of thumb there, dead center. Now, think about other clubs in our bag. I mentioned earlier wedges, okay? And wedges still, like you to think about playing them more centered, you know, but there are instances where I'll play it a little further back and hit down on it to control trajectory. But once again, there's a specific reason why we're doing that when we start playing our wedges off our back foot, okay? And for the back camera, we'll talk a little bit more how the posture stays consistent despite the club that we pick. But that would be my wedge. Let's see here. Let's grab a 4 iron here. And with the 4 iron, you know, we'll reference my box here. You know, I may play that 4 iron a little bit more forward. You know, so if that's neutral, we're 1, 2 balls forward. And maybe referencing my body, we're not quite to that inner heel, which is where we like to play the driver, but we are a little bit forward. But even with that, guys, if you are struggling, always get it back to neutral with an iron. It helps our body work together well, and it really improves consistency with most golfers, okay? But once we get in that 4-iron, 3-iron, 5-wood, we are creeping it up a little bit forward. And there is no perfect science to this. I think if you take 5 tour professionals, they're all going to be a little bit different and have a unique reason why they chose to go with what they went with. But it is true that those longer clubs have less loft, and with the woods especially, we are trying to bottom out in the middle and catch it a little bit more on the upslope as we swing through. And if I grab my driver, you might be able to see that. It's a unique thing to really address, okay? If I'm square here, even if I'm playing my driver and I'm playing the ball more off the inner part of my heel, the whole idea here is that I'm going to bottom out there and then catch it a little bit on the upslope, having the proper launch, getting extension through, and then continuing my golf swing to its finish. Okay, so with the driver, ball position should definitely be forward. And I always talk about being somewhere between that inner heel on that lead foot. But even there, I am not afraid to tell you to move it back a little bit. Or if you're having a big issue of slicer inconsistency, even putting it neutral for a little bit to try to get that club to bottom out at impact and where the golf ball is until we can figure out how to really create the launch angle and get the benefit from playing it off the front foot, okay? But that is a crucial thing. If this ball was way back here, right, with the driver, I'm sure you won't get height, and you may even have to turn your body back to feel athletic and get behind the ball. Both of those things will make for inconsistent shots that aren't very fluid, okay? So when we think about our ball position, the biggest thing is to reference the box and making sure no matter what you do, your golf ball is going to start somewhere in that box and will never be outside of it. That way we have a little bit of control over the impact area. With our driver, our wood, 5-wood, 3-wood, we want to play it off the inner heel, but we have room to move it back to neutral for consistency, just to ensure our body is working the correct way to it, okay? With our irons, we can play with that as well, but with a mid-iron, 7 or 6, feel like it's more centered in your stance. We definitely don't want that forward because we are trying to hit down on those irons, okay? And you have some room to play with ball position, going back maybe a ball or 2 balls, especially if we're trying to control trajectory.